On the 4th of June 2018, I was in the Santa Monica Mountains near Malibu to drive the Porsche Mission E Cross Turismo prototype. It was an early version of what would ultimately become the Taycan, except this was in an estate body style. It was lovely, and ever since that drive, that's the version of the Taycan I've been waiting for. No disrespect to the saloons, I've tested the 4S and the rear wheel drive and driven the Turbo S, and they've all been great, but the wagon concept has always been in the back of my mind. And guess what? Today, Porsche have just shown off the final production-ready Taycan Cross Turismo. Happy days. So this car is basically a normal Taycan, but with a body that not only looks cooler to me, but is actually more practical and useful to a wider range of people. I mean, a jacked up electric off-road wagon sounds nuts, but believe me when I tell you that this is gonna make a lot of sense to a lot of folks. The Cross Turismo is the same width as the standard Taycan, but slightly longer by 10mm and slightly taller by around 14mm, but it's the shape of the roofline and the back that makes it interesting. Instead of the dramatically sloping roof you get on the saloon, the roofline stays much flatter before sloping at the rear, and that, crucially, gives it more room in the boot. 446 litres of storage versus the 407 you get in the saloon. So now it's almost as big as what you get in the Panamera. Plus the seats even fold down to give you a total of 1,212 litres. Proper practicality. In terms of passenger space around the back, you now get 47mm more headroom for rear passengers than you got in the saloon, which should help it feel far less claustrophobic. I'm 5'11" and the saloon was okay for me, but having that extra room is gonna make a big difference, trust me. Look at me, I've started a video about a Porsche by talking about boot space and practicality. My priorities are completely out of line. I apologize, I'm sorry, I'm gonna talk about performance in just a minute. It's fast, trust me, but we'll get to that. Before that, let's talk about some other key design elements on the Cross Turismo. You get a lot of off-road inspired features like the black wheel arch trims. Check out those lower aprons as well at the front and the rear, and the side sills. They were quite aggressive on the concept, but what's crazy is that Porsche have made the production versions of these even cooler and way more aggressive. I'm pretty sure that they don't serve any aerodynamic purpose, but the ones at the side in particular will apparently prevent against stone chips. Speaking of stones, the car will come as standard with a gravel mode. Now, I'm sure that this will mostly just end up being used by people with gravel on their driveways leading up to their mansions, but in this mode, the ride height is raised by 30mm compared to the saloon, and the suspension management, the traction management, the torque vectoring, and the stability control will all work together to help you get maximum traction in these situations. That's if you want traction. If you don't want it, you can just turn most of that stuff off and then, get naughty. I mean, it's not a proper off-roader, but Porsche actively encourage you to mess about on loose, muddy surfaces, so I gather this car will throw a few shapes. They're even planning to sell an optional off-road design package, which increases ground clearance by up to 30mm by default. Of course, most people aren't going to be throwing their Porsches around on stones. Well, I mean, I would. But, I'm mad enough to take a Tesla Model 3 to a rally course with a Christmas tree on the roof. But there are a couple of features that people with a more active lifestyle will probably want to take advantage of, including the rear carrier that can accommodate up to 3 bicycles. It can carry pretty much any type of bike, and that includes a couple of e-bikes made by Porsche, the e-bike Sport and the e-bike Cross, which are designed to complement the Taycan. In terms of other specifications, the Cross Turismo is pretty similar to the saloon. It's got the same brilliant interior, which is just littered with screens. There's a curved screen for the driver, a screen down by your right-hand side or your left-hand side, depending on where the wheel is, for your heating, and even the passenger gets a screen for some weird reason. 4 versions will be available, none of which is rear-wheel drive for obvious reasons, but you get an entry-level Taycan 4 Cross Turismo with 476 peak horsepower during launch control and overboost. It'll do 0 to 62 in 5.1 seconds and 136 miles an hour flat out. The Taycan 4S Cross Turismo has 571 horses for 0 to 62 in 4.1 and 150 flat out. The Taycan Turbo Cross Turismo makes 680 horsepower for 0 to 62 in 3.3. And the big dog, the Turbo S Cross Turismo, has 761 horses for 0 to 62 in 2.9 and 155 flat out. Now, unlike the saloon Taycan, the Cross Turismo comes with the Performance Battery Plus fitted as standard. So you get 93.4 kilowatt hours of total battery capacity. And that means all the versions will do around 280 miles on a single charge, except the Turbo S, which only manages 260. The car's going to go on sale this summer with prices starting from 93,000 euros, including 19% VAT. So it's not cheap, but people are going to lap it up, trust me. Porsche have already sold more than 20,000 Taycan saloon models in 2020. That's almost as much as the Boxster and the Cayman put together. And when this thing drops, those numbers are definitely going to increase. Trust me on that one. So, what do you guys think? Do you like it? Do you prefer the Cross Turismo to the saloon? If you had the cash, would you buy it? Does it make an interesting addition to the lineup? Does it off-road quite as well as a Model 3 with a Christmas tree on the roof? Probably not. But as always, let me know your thoughts down below, and hopefully we'll get to drive this car pretty soon. So stay tuned, subscribe, hit like, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.